Here's the problem. Okay, well, it turns out that people don't vote based on your accomplishments. Otherwise, Barack Obama would not be a two-term president. Turns out people don't vote based on what you've done and what you've accomplished. Hillary Clinton has never done or accomplished anything other than giving Vladimir Putin a reset button and getting 4 people killed in Benghazi. She has no accomplishments as Secretary of State. As Senator, she did nothing noteworthy. Hillary Clinton is not an important figure in the history of the United States except for her last name and the fact that she has run a bunch of times. That's it. But I'll tell you why people vote, and it has nothing to do with your record or your accomplishments or any of the rest of this. This is all the stuff that gets the base kind of happy and jazzed and all the rest of this. The reason that people vote, and what actually motivates people to vote, is fear of something else. And I know this is not pretty, but this is what it is. Okay, this is what it is. People are motivated by fear. People are motivated by fear of ISIS or fear of terrorism, or they're motivated by fear of criminality, or they're motivated by fear that someone's going to take their gun or somebody's going to take their money. People are motivated by fear of the opponent because mostly people just want to be left alone. And it turns out that in terms of brain biology, the most developed part of the human being's brain is probably the amygdala. That's your fear center. That's your emotional center. It's really your emotion response center, and a big portion of that is fear. And you respond with fear without even knowing that you're responding with fear, and then your brain makes up excuses for it. This is the reason why if you were to accidentally put your foot next to a cricket, you'd respond with disgust but not fear. If you were to step next to a snake, you'd respond with fear instinctively. Even before your brain even knew what it was doing, you'd be responding to it. When it comes to politics, fear works. Barack Obama has played off fear his entire life, his entire presidency. He's played off the fear that black people have for white racists, and he's played off that to great effect. He's played off the fear, really, that a lot of white folks, the white racists, have for black people. Because he says, I'm not out to hurt you. I'm not out to harm you. Really, I mean, this is why Obama's appealing. Now, President Obama has played fear against fear, and he has done wonderful things with it. The Republicans are constantly afraid to use fear. This is why Donald Trump has been so successful. We'll get to Trump in just a little while here on the Ben Shapiro Show because there's been so much talk about Trump. But the reason that Trump is being successful right now is because Trump is actually naming a problem. He's naming an enemy. That enemy is illegal immigrants who are criminals and the Democrats who support them. That is the enemy, and they threaten you. That's Trump's case. And it's a strong case. And it's a case that a lot of people think ought to be made, right? This is just something you want to know why Trump is resonating. This is why Trump is resonating. And yes, it's based on fear and not unjustified fear. Okay, the reason that Hillary Clinton is doing so well with so many people in the minority community is because she keeps saying over and over and over to them that Republicans are racist and evil. Right? It's all about the appeal to fear. And I don't want to be too negative about politics, but this is what it is, unfortunately, because most people are not reasonable in how they treat these issues. And the great misnomer of talk radio, the great misnomer of conservative politics in general is that everybody's just a rational actor, and if we could just appeal to their rational sides, then we would be better off. That's not what the rational part of your brain does. The rational part of your brain does not try to overcome your biology. Okay, the rational part of your brain tries to make excuses for your biology. As you know, every time your wife tells you to take out the trash or your husband tells you, asks if you could please take out the garbage, every time that happens, the first thing you do is you make an excuse as to why you haven't done it yet. That's because there's an excuse-making part of your brain. The prefrontal, the rational part of your brain is the lawyer of your brain. It's the excuse factory. That's what sociobiologists say. And the excuse part of your brain is it's why you say you vote the way you do, but it's not really why you vote the way you do. The reason you vote the way you do has nothing to do with that. The reason you vote the way you do is because your fear center and your emotional centers tell you to vote a certain way. Democrats are very adept at triggering those centers. We'll play you some of Hillary Clinton's speech in just a little bit here on the Ben Shapiro Show, and you'll see that. You'll see that Hillary Clinton is not effective at it, but her speechwriters are effective at it. So far in Scott Walker's speech, I haven't heard anything about what we're supposed to fear. He talked about radical Islamic terror, but that's it. I don't know, and I'm sorry, but when it comes to the threat of ISIS is scary. But when it comes to ISIS's threat to my way of life, I'm not supremely concerned with ISIS defeating the United States. I'm worried about terrorist attacks as much as the next guy. But what I am scared of is not even a generic government. I am scared of a group of people who want to use the government to crack down on my freedoms. Now, Scott Walker, he's hitting all the right issues. I mean, he's saying a lot of the right things. He's saying that he wants a constitutional amendment to protect marriage. He's saying that he wants to end Obamacare, period. All of these are the right positions. I just don't know how you capture hearts and minds with this sort of rhetoric. I don't. Pete in Covington, maybe you disagree. This is the Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH. Go for it, Pete.
I disagree about your synopsis of Hillary. She has plenty of experience running things. Just her couple years presence at the Rose Law Firm, she took out the premier and oldest law firm in Arkansas. It is no longer, because she was just not even a bimbo eruptions unit at the White House to protect her husband from a known problem that he had, which was his behavior with women when he wasn't in public, and women that were at his, how do I say this? That were beneath him in social stature.
No, Pete, I hear you, and you're right. I mean, and it's unfair to say Hillary Clinton has never run a popsicle stand. She has, in fact, run probably the only popsicle stand in existence. Her husband's, yes. In any case, the idea but the point that I'm making about Walker and about the Republicans is a very simple one. You must, at some point, make an appeal to people based on emotion. If you don't do that, you are not going to be able to appeal to anyone in any real significant sort of way. And it's just sad to me that Republicans can't do something as simple as make the moral argument. Make the emotional moral argument. Why is this so difficult for them? Why is it that it's constantly, let me give you a list of all of my accomplishments and all of the things I want to see in the universe and all of the things that I wish were happening in America today? Why can't they ever, just once, say, here is the threat? And it's a threat by people who mean ill to you. These are people who want to hurt you. These are people who want to destroy your life, take away your livelihood, hurt you. And they want to do that because they have ill intent, because they want a different America than we want. You want to know why Trump is resonating? It's because of that. And as we continue here on the Ben Shapiro Show, I want to talk about why Trump is resonating and why I'm not sure that based on all of this, I really don't know if Scott Walker is going to be able to really pose a threat to somebody like Donald Trump. Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com. This is the Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com, live from the Online Trading Academy studio. So, well, Scott Walker continues to announce, and he's still speaking. He's been going now for approximately half an hour here, and it's fine. He's everything that he's saying is totally fine. He's saying that he wants to take the fight to ISIS. He says that he wants to fight radical Islamic terror. He's doing it all without notes. In fact, why don't we go back to Walker for a minute, see what he's talking about at this point. If we can bring Walker up. Let's see. Because he's still talking as far as I'm aware. In case we'll grab it as soon as we can. In any case, the real question is, will Walker be able to take any support away from people like Donald Trump or even Hillary Clinton? And I think that I have doubts about this. Hillary Clinton today said that Scott Walker was mean-spirited and stomped the unions. Scott Walker responded with, yeah, I went after the unions, and yeah, I beat the unions, and it was good that I beat the unions because of X, Y, and Z. But the problem is that doesn't help. I mean, it's not just that that's on the defensive. What he should say is Hillary Clinton stands with the unions because she stands against children and she's mean-spirited. This idea that you're going to win based on facts and figures is not true. You want to know why Trump has had such an upsurge. It's because he's not talking facts and figures. It's because he's actually channeling emotion. I mean, listen to the emotion that Trump channels when he talks about illegal immigration. And listen, Trump's not my guy. But he's the only person who seems to be able to communicate even a shred of emotion.
And the folks were telling me something that was incredible. Whenever somebody hears that it was an illegal that was involved with the death of their children, it becomes politically incorrect for a politician to help them. That's how messed up our nation is.
I mean, this is the sort of language that is effective. Trump understands what's effective. He doesn't understand how to control himself, but he understands what's effective. You want to know why the left is all fired frustrated with Trump? And they are. They're frustrated with Trump. They're angry at Trump. They're not angry at Trump because they think he's such a clown. They laugh at clowns. They should be overjoyed. They keep telling you how overjoyed they are about Trump. They're upset with Trump because he's grabbing their tactics and he's using them against him. Britt Hume says that Trump is going to fade when voters realize who he is.
Donald Trump has captivated them for the moment. And and by doing so, he's basically eclipsed Ted Cruz, who was their previous horse. He will have a run. But I think the chickens will come home to roost sooner or later. It'll turn out people will begin to realize that he hasn't long been a Republican. In fact, for many years he gave more money to Democrats, praised Hillary Clinton, said that Mitt Romney was too mean on immigration for taking positions weaker than the one that he's taken now. And over time, his moment will fade.
All of that's true, and maybe his moment will fade, but it's not going to fade because he is considered too corrupt. Everyone knows he's corrupt. It's not going to fade because everybody is so bizarrely obsessed with Trump. I mean, here's the point, folks. People respond to emotionality, and that's why everybody is responding to Trump. Like him, hate him, everybody's responding to him. And Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, she says she understands Trump's frustration, but he should watch his tone.
I understand his frustration. The frustration that he has about illegal immigration, a lot of people have. The difference is we need to be very conscious of our tone. We need to be very conscious of how we communicate. There are a lot of legal immigrants that have made this country the place it is today. We need to make sure that we're always communicating in a way that's got respect and dignity. And that's what so much was about with South Carolina, was when you saw all of this happen, people respected each other. They may have disagreed, but they respected each other. That tone is important for the country.
No, I'll tell you, it's not important for the country to have that tone. If that were important to the country, Democrats would have lost every election from here to the end of time and before. What's important to the country for the Democrats, and this is why they win, is not that everybody... Here's the great lie. People think Democrats win because Democrats come off as more caring. They don't win because they come off as more caring. They win because they don't come off as less caring. They spend all of their time bashing Republicans for being uncaring. And Republicans then spend all of their time trying to convince the left, no, we care. You cannot win that fight. There is no way to win that fight. The only way to win a knife fight is to bring a gun. And the only way to bring a gun to this sort of rhetorical war is to say the left has no interest in you. They don't like you. They're not interested in your safety. They want to harm you for their own political gain. Threat perception is the nature of politics. This is why we elect politicians and have a government in the first place. And pretending that it's all about caring is actually a lefty point of view. Government is not there to care for you. Government is there to neutralize threats. And if you provide people no threats, why would they vote for you to neutralize those threats? Jeff in Los Angeles, you're on the Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH. Go for it, Jeff.
Yeah, on paper, I love Walker. I've been a big fan of his for the past couple of years because I think on paper he is kind of all the right things. But, recently seeing Ted Cruz do that interview with Katie Couric, I mean, he stood his ground so well. And I really think that he'll be kind of the emotional leader of the party. He has such a genuine kindness to him, and he understands the media. He understands that, he has to do it with a smile. And I think that actually I think of him as more of an emotional leader than Trump. And with the fact that Walker can't even explain, why gay marriage is wrong to his kids, and Cruz is just so elegant on how to frame the argument, I think Cruz is my guy for now.
Yeah, no, listen, I hear that, and Cruz has been gaining in the polls. Cruz up to 9%, Jeff. I think that the problem with Cruz is Cruz's presentation. He comes across as pleading. I was saying this to a friend who works with Cruz's campaign over the weekend. Cruz comes off like he's constantly pleading for something, like he's wheedling. And people don't want a president to plead. People want a president to tell. And if Cruz could get past his own kind of imagistic hang-ups, if he could get past the preaching, I mean, he feels like a televangelist. If he could get past the preaching attitude, then Cruz would be formidable. He's the smartest guy in the field. He's the most principled conservative in the field. They all have their problems. But whoever is able to capture that language of emotionality is going to win. And, Jeff, I appreciate the call. And if nobody does, then it'll just be the guy who has the most money. And you can hear the anger in the other Republicans. They can't get their mind around why Trump is picking up all the support. Listen, Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, calls Trump a demagogue. He's very upset.
There's some people who love Donald Trump and say that he's speaking the truth. What I think he's doing is being a demagogue. I think he's uninformed about the situation regarding the illegal immigrant population. What happened in San Francisco is appalling, but it does not represent the 11 million. I think he's hijacked the debate. I think he's a wrecking ball for the future of the Republican Party with the Hispanic community, and we need to push back.
He's a wrecking ball. And he is. He's Miley Cyrus. I mean, Donald Trump is Miley Cyrus, but again, he generates an emotional response. And from all sides of the aisle. You got Dana Milbank over at the Washington Post. He's one of the world's least likable human beings, saying that Donald Trump is a pig.
I love writing about him. I mean, yeah, the man is a rotten pig, but he's good for our business. I'm not, yes, it's a guilty pleasure, but I'm going to be, it's justified to write about him. He's number 2 in the polls.
He's number 2 in the polls. And again, the left is making a big deal out of Trump, and probably a bigger deal than he deserves. But I think that the right needs to stop being quite so dismissive of why it is that Trump has gained in the polls. Look, Trump is, again, I'm not endorsing Trump by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's conservative, and I think he says wacky stuff all the time. He said there are a bunch of protesters who showed up in Los Angeles over the weekend to complain about Trump. And here's Trump.
And I saw protests, a couple of very tiny protests. I heard, there's going to be a protest. You go there, and there's like a few people. There were more people in favor of Trump. People are holding up 2016 signs, and I'm saying, they like me. It's all nonsense. And the people that were protesting, they were so sophisticated, I guarantee you that the country of Mexico had those people doing it. Because I talk about trade, and I talk about the bad trade deals we're making, and I believe that bothers Mexico far more.
Okay, so he says crazy things all the time, and he's Trump. I mean, he just is. But, again, the right is being stupid if they don't look at him and say, okay, why is he gaining? And it's not just because he's talking illegal immigration. They've all talked illegal immigration. It's not just because he's talking about that issue. It's because he specifically goes out of his way to invoke emotion, and this is something that he knows from his career, from working in Hollywood. And the left is attributing this to, Trump's just a racist, and he's ginning up all the racists. No, that's not what's happening here. What Trump is, he's giving voice to an emotion that people have. And it's not an unjustified emotion. He may not be a conservative. He may not be the nominee. I hope he's not. I really hope he's not, for a whole wide variety of reasons. But I hope that the Republicans look at him as an opportunity to learn something about communication, even from a guy as bloviating as Trump, as opposed to trying to learn about communication from Scott Walker, who basically is Mitt Romney without the gray streaks around his temples. I mean, you listened to him earlier. He sounds exactly like Romney. So if you loved Romney, you'll love Scott Walker. Scott Walker's more conservative than Romney. He's not the founder of Obamacare, but you know what? If he speaks the same way as Romney, I'm not sure it's going to matter. As we continue here on the Ben Shapiro Show, Hillary Clinton, on the other side of the aisle, gives a big speech about her economic plan. We will go through it piece by piece by piece. Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com.